You're listening to Sasha Talks Tech, a podcast about technology and innovation, including data science, machine learning, and so much more. Our guest today is Kirill Eremenko, very famous author, influencer, and an entrepreneur.
Thank you, Sasha, for the intro. I wouldn't say famous author. That's a bit. I don't know. Like I'm humbled by the introduction, but I think it's a bit over top for me. But I'm very excited to be on your show, and congratulations on starting this show. This is very exciting.
Thank you very much for joining us today, Kirill.
Nice.
So let's begin. I just wanted to know, when did you realize that you were compelled to share knowledge? What was that pivotal moment, and where did you start?
Okay. That's a great question. I've been reflecting back on this for a while. So for those who don't know, I run a few businesses in the space of sharing specifically knowledge, education, around the topics of data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence. Notably, Super Data Science is one of them. Data Science Go is a live conference we do. By the way, Sasha, you attended 2 so far, right?
Yes, I attended 2 conferences in a row, and it changed my life, I have to admit.
That's awesome. What's the biggest change that you've seen?
It was a very unusual format. It was definitely more casual. It prompted interaction between the participants, and it was just easy to meet and connect with people in a less formal of a setting, although it was still a very effective approach.
But I mean, thank you for that. But I mean, like, what was the biggest change in your personal life? Well, in your life, kind of professional life, after attending these events?
I met a lot of interesting people, and I attended a lot of talks. For example, my main takeaway from the last conference was Carrie Twiggs' speech. She's a career coach, and she showed me and allowed me to realize that it's okay to be imperfect, and it is okay to show it. It was a moment that switched a lot of patterns of my thinking, and it was quite an eye-opening encounter.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Nice. I bet you weren't expecting a career coach at a data science event.
Not at all. But again, your conference is so unique. I don't even know whom to expect anymore.
Nice. Okay. Well, thank you. Well, back to the answer. I would say that what inspired me, like I've been looking back on this for multiple occasions, and it kind of all happened after a series of random coincidences in my life. I needed to learn Java. I went online. I took this course by John Purcell on Udemy. At the end, he mentioned a book. He wrote like a small ebook for £4.95 on how to teach online and how he does it. And so I decided to read that book. Upon reading that book, I realized that I should give this a try. Giving it a try, I found out that I'm actually pretty good at it. People like my teaching style. I hope to believe that. And I went and continued and just grew from there. But like looking back further, analyzing this random coincidence of events, I try to understand, why do I actually enjoy teaching so much? Why do I keep doing this? You know, if it was just some random thing that happened, there's a high chance that it wouldn't have stuck with me. But then like looking back a long time ago, I found that this is something that I've actually been doing throughout my whole life. Pretty much always. Like I have 2 younger brothers, and where I can, I teach them things. Then at school, when I was still in high school, I would always like go to, I don't know, like a university or something, learn something, and I'll bring that back and teach it to my fellow students. When I was at university, I would take physics experiments that I would love at university and then go back to that same high school where I used to study, and show those experiments there. Then also at university, I was a teacher like at a remote school where like students would send in their homework. I would mark it off and send it back. So it's interesting how what is now my passion has actually been alongside me throughout my whole life, and I haven't noticed it or registered it. It was just normal to me. But then it took a random coincidence for this to be triggered and for me to understand, for me to actually pursue it as a passion, and then later on understand that it's something I've been good at all along. And so I guess the main takeaway or lesson here is that sometimes what we're looking for is much closer than we think it is, and we might actually take it for granted or take it as a normal part of our life, but it is something that other people either don't have or don't possess, so it's a unique skill to us, or B, it is something that can actually help lots and lots of people around. We just don't realize it that much. So that's in a nutshell, looking back on my career, what I can say.
This is so cool. So this is how basically your mission of making complex things simple started. Because
Very interesting. Yeah, it's like I guess it's been around with me forever. The actual phrase, a mentor of mine helped me come up with it when I explained to him what our students most appreciate in our courses. Like, we get a lot of reviews. So for those listeners of your show who don't know, we just crossed 1 million students worldwide, and which is very exciting for us. And we have plenty of reviews. Like, I think we, just in terms of questions, I think we get like 500 questions from students per day. So we also get feedback, and we get testimonials, reviews, and a lot of these reviews say that, hey, like, apart from, of course, like, you helped me get a job, you helped me get a promotion, you helped me break into super data science, like your courses, like, because it's not just me recording them, there's lots of people recording them now. But ultimately, a lot of these comments are around the fact that we break down complex topics such as artificial intelligence into a simple format and into simple explanations that pretty much anybody can follow along with. So yeah, I guess you're right. It started a long time ago, but it was formalized or formulated quite recently, maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Wow, this is incredible. So you're breaking down complex information into smaller and more manageable blocks, this way facilitating the entry into data science for people from various backgrounds. I bet you removed so many barriers for so many people aspiring to enter the data science field.
Thanks. I hope to believe that as well. Thank you.
Well, in data science, we talk a lot about unconventional journeys. People talk about different paths of entry into data science from not always related fields. It's not always engineers who turn out to be data scientists. Sometimes it would be social media marketers or even art majors. Have you ever met anybody, or can you remember a very unconventional story that kind of stuck with you, that you think about like, wow, what an incredible journey? I wouldn't necessarily like think about the representative of this profession necessarily being interested in the data science.
Yeah, for sure. Plenty. What's your background, by the way? I forgot.
Well, I started in linguistics when I went to university in Russia, but in the United States, I got the degree in electrical engineering.
Well, there you go. So somebody from linguistics. I can give you plenty of examples. I also have a podcast and like interviewing some of our students occasionally, because sometimes I interview data science influencers or researchers, people who work in the industry, but sometimes I interview students as well. And just recently there was an interview with one of our students whom I met in Switzerland, Marco. He actually got into data science from psychology. He was a psychologist, and then he decided, like, they do a little bit of, well, in his profession, he was doing a little bit of visualization of some data for his thesis, and he really liked it. He moved into data science. Another time I was talking to somebody, I think this was before Data Science Go 2018. I was doing a presentation at a meetup in San Diego, and this lady came up to me. Unfortunately, I forgot her name, but she was like, I'm interested in data science, very curious about this field, but my background is actually has nothing to do with data science. Like, I think she like tells stories or writes children's books or something like that. And and I said, well, that's beautiful. Like storytelling in data science is one of the most crucial skills. Like communicating insights to key business decision makers is one of the hardest things to do. Like, yes, you can get some models and get the insights out of those models or visualizations and so on. Fantastic. But communicating that is extremely hard. And so, that's another person who, I'm not sure about her story now, how it's unfolded, whether she ended up going into data science or not, but I could totally see how a person even with a background like that could easily get into data science. So there's plenty of examples that data science is very broad, and it really depends on what approach you want to take in terms of your career, building your career in the space. So ultimately, any kind of prior background, that's one of the things I love about data science, that any prior background can actually be very helpful and facilitate
I completely agree with this. I really believe that we must not underestimate soft skills, especially such things as storytelling. Being able to effectively communicate your data to your audience is crucial, because you might have very efficient analytics report, but if you're not communicating it effectively to an investor, a supervisor, or whomever you're reporting to, what's the point of even running all the models and showing the results? It's just it's very, those journeys they seem so inspiring to me. I've also been wondering if about people keep talking about that optimal format, such as what's better, master's degree, a boot camp, or some online courses, or some project-based learning, or maybe a combination of those. I believe cookie cutter formula doesn't exist, but do you think there is some sort of an optimal ratio depending on the student's background?
23% physical education and 77% online. I'm joking. I don't know the exact ratio. But like, it really also, what is accessible to you, what is available, what you are passionate about, what you're interested in the most. At the end of the day, I really liked Ben Taylor's talk at Data Science Go 2018, where he was talking about passion and obsession. And as long as you're like on the verge between passion and obsession, and you really love what you do so much, you're constantly in the space, you're always, what you mentioned, hands-on experience. I don't believe like just like learning something, checking off a box, say I did this course, I read this book, yeah, that's it, that's a good start. No, like you should really, that should be a supplement to what your main objective or your main occupation should be. And the main, in my view, occupation should be just crunching out things all the time, like just being curious and solving these problems, doing these hands-on experiences. And then if you want to get your knowledge in order to propel yourself forward through in-person education or online education, that's totally up to you. And even if you came up with a formula, it really depends on the instructor as well, right? So if you spend like, even if you take a degree in data science, some universities are coming out with masters of data science, but you have a professor that's not inspiring you, well, then your formula was wrong from the start, right? It really depends on what's accessible to you. If there's a great in-person trainer near you, go, for all means. By all means, go and learn in person. But if there's a great online educator that you want to follow and you're passionate about, then do that. Ultimately, it doesn't matter where the knowledge comes from. It matters how you can demonstrate the capacity to deliver projects.
Wow, yeah, I completely agree. We just have to go by what's accessible to you and what's out there. And two most important factors, in my opinion, are curiosity and perseverance. Without those two, yeah, I don't know.
Where are you learning data science these days?
It's a combination of books and Coursera, and I've been eyeing a master's program in one of the San Francisco universities. So yeah, it's kind of up in the air.
You're in San Francisco now? Oh no, you're in Europe right now.
Oh yeah, right now I'm visiting my family, but I'm based in San Francisco, California professionally.
Oh, okay. What's this master's program called?
It's master's degree in data science in one of the universities. I just have to look into the curriculum a little bit closer because
Mm.
over there, San Francisco is considered to be a tag hub of not just California, but probably of the entire United States. And there is a lot of bootcamp programs and universities. That city definitely has a lot to offer. So right now I'm just researching the differences between those.
Hmm. Okay. So then, what if I phrase the question back to you? Why an in-person or university bootcamp? How do you think that's going to benefit you as opposed to a online program that you can take?
I've always valued peer-to-peer interaction to a great extent.
Hmm.
It helped me a lot in university as well when we paired up or joined the groups and worked on a project collectively, because we all have different angles of viewing a certain problem due to the various backgrounds that we come
Hmm.
from. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's almost like power over collective intelligence.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. Well, I'm sure any university would be lucky to have you with, with your amount of curiosity and just uh, insatiable
Absolutely.
curiosity and outstanding perseverance. So, like, yeah, that's very exciting. Glad you're
Absolutely.
taking it.
I've always been a lifelong learner and an avid reader, and I just love doing research and learning new things. Speaking of which, I would love to talk about your book, Confident Data Skills, which
Mm,
I'm personally very fond of it. And one of my favorite things about it, it's very qualitative. It doesn't have any code in it, and it's very good for the people who are just getting ready to enter the industry or even the executives who are not necessarily affiliated with data science. Each chapter gives a very qualitative and comprehensive approach of the concepts, which is accessible to the reader of any level. So, and I was just wondering, what made you decide on that particular approach? Because I know you have very strong coding skills, and your background and your knowledge that you amassed throughout the years in the industry is very impressive. So, what made you decide on that particular format?
mm. Um, Thank you, first of all, for the lovely description and compliments. Really appreciate it. What made me decide? Hmm. Like I just realized that, like, actually, it wasn't my idea. A publisher. It wasn't my idea to write a book. Like a publisher approached me on LinkedIn, and they're like, "Oh, Kirill, do you want to write a book?" And at first, I actually said no. But speaking of perseverance, they persevered and convinced me eventually, which I'm very happy about. I'm very glad I did. I just didn't think I would have the time back then, but it somehow managed to make it happen. And when they said, "Okay, let's write a book," their initial idea was, yeah, like a typical data science book with lots of code. I realized that's not what I want to do because there's plenty of books like that already. And also, it's not making data science accessible. It's making data science accessible to those who know how to code or who want to code. But as we discussed previously, there's so many areas of data science that you could build a career in. There's areas in data science you could build a career in without ever knowing how to code. You could become a visualization expert and use tools like Tableau, Power BI, ClickSense, and never once write more than one line of code, just for like a calculated field. You don't even need to write that much. You could never ever write a line of code and be a very effective data scientist with, a six figure salary and be master what you do. You could also be a data communicator. You could be a data translator. You could be a executive coach in the space of data. You could be a data strategist. There's so many areas of data science that are underestimated or not talked about enough. People think that data science is necessarily just coding and machine learning, and a lot of the time it is actually equated with machine learning, whereas that's a very narrowing perspective. I highly admire machine learning. We teach machine learning. I think it's a very powerful tool, artificial intelligence as well, but that's not the extent of data science. And so thereby I wanted to write a book that anybody could pick up and read and understand if data is the field for them. And in fact, just, where is this field of data science going? It's just out of curiosity, you could read it. And B, I wanted to write a book that people don't have to be stuck in front of a computer. Like a lot of data scientists are already stuck in front of the computer, all the time. And if you pick up most of data science books, you'll see that there's code in them, and that means you have to sit in front of a computer and like copy paste that code or like write it out. I wanted to write a book where people can just enjoy it on a train or on a plane. That was my counter proposal to the publisher. Like, I want to write a book that somebody can read on their way to work on the train, full stop. And that's what we ended up doing. And I think it delivers on that promise that you can just actually get to know the field, find out without any stress, without any pressure. It's got lots of the other thing I like about it, it's got lots of examples of, from my personal life. Like when I got a phone call from the police about somebody potentially riding on a motorbike that seemed like mine, and how certain statistical inferences can be used there for me to like what I don't know, that chapter was about like data is your alibi, that where your phone is located at night can act as an alibi in certain situations. And like it's got plenty of examples with real life applications of not just data science but data in general. And yeah, so answering your question, it just was I felt that was missing. It was a barrier to entry for lots of people who might want to get accustomed or acquainted with the field. And so I decided to, make that opportunity, take that opportunity and turn it into something useful.
Wow, this is incredible. I can't even describe how much I love this. So basically, you're teaching data scientists and aspiring data scientists, of course, how to think about the problem on a big picture level before you're teaching them how to code.
Of course, that's the most important part. Like, coding is easy.
Yeah, it's like, for those who don't know, I highly recommend this book. It inspires and satisfies curiosity.
Thanks. Do you know that Lund published a book just recently?
I did not know. I actually loved his talk about BERT algorithms on the last data science book.
Yeah,
Wow.
he's really excited. It just came out like 3 weeks ago, I think. It's called AI Crash Course. Really cool book, very cool cover. I'm very pumped about them. These books they're not easy to write. Like mine took 1.5 years to write. I think his took like almost a year to write as well. But yeah, so I'm very excited about my friend that now he's also got a book published. You should pick that one up. I think that could be useful.
I would love to. I'm actually looking forward to reading.
Awesome.
So, and I was also wondering, since you're a writer, of course you must be a reader as well. So I was just curious if there is a field of technology you enjoy reading about most. For example, for me, it would be natural language processing, computer vision, and my new guilty pleasure, so to say, is watching videos about deepfakes. I watched them in fascination and horror at the same time. So I was just wondering, what would be your guilty pleasure in terms of technology news?
That's a great question. I can't even recall a book I've read specifically on a technology lately. What I normally do is when I want to dive into a technology, whether it's blockchain or recently I was reading about edge computing. Now I'm back into visualization. I tend to consume information in bursts. So like, for instance, within a space of a month, I will like research everything and read all the like research papers, blog posts, articles, videos, whatever I come across. So rather than just like taking a book and reading it, which probably could be beneficial, I tend to either consume information in bursts like that or stay up to date with recent trends through newsletters. Like I read our own newsletter. We have a newsletter called Data Science Insider. I also read the Abundance Insider by Peter Diamandis. That's like a good filter for me for recent updates. So, and then in terms of books, I tend to read more books on business because ultimately I spend more time running a business these days than doing data science or even teaching courses, because like the operation has grown to such an extent that we have 16 people or 15 people in the company. We have a million students. So I got to be up to date as a business leader. And also I've been enjoying some fiction books at the same time. So yeah, unfortunately, I can't share a specific example of a book with you that's about a specific technology.
That is all right. No worries at all. So yeah, and I was just curious, with AI being such a buzzword in the media nowadays, we hear a lot about AI writing music, driving cars, even doing attorney jobs. And I remember you mentioning immigration checkpoint AI in one of your tweets, and AI beat a human in AlphaGo. So I was just curious, from your personal perspective, how far can AI go within the next 10 years? I guess my question is, most importantly, how far do you think the AI cannot go in terms of replacing humans in certain tasks?
um, I was at the barber today getting a haircut and beard trim, and I was chatting to this guy. I think his name is Josh, the barber, and we got to talking and asked him. So he's quite young. He's been doing it for 2 years, but he's very passionate about what he does. And I could see that, like, he finished like a degree in it, but then it wasn't satisfying him enough, so he learned by himself. And then when he went to do his apprenticeship, like, they thought he was fantastic, so they promoted him very quickly. And then he told me he's from the UK, and he told me about that in the UK they have at least like one barber conference per month for barbers, at least one per month, whereas in Australia it's much less frequent. So they're much further ahead there, and also the different hairstyles and things like that. So through all this passion, I got mesmerized by how much he loves this field and how good he is and how he's planning on building his future around it and career. And then I asked him, like, Josh, mate, don't you like think that barbers are going to be taken over by robots at some point? And he made a very good point. He's like, he's not worried about that because it's too personal. That everybody needs a very specific haircut. Everybody, like you, they might have a specific thing that they want, and it would be very hard for a machine to be that precise or more like that understanding and empathetic to deliver exactly what a human wants. And I think there's plenty of fields like that. I think machines will, or AI will, take over in more rudimentary, repetitive, high volume tasks, for instance, RPA. They will assist humans in creative tasks. They will be more reliable in important tasks like driving cars, right? Things that are like where our lives depend on it. But I think in the next 10 years, what we'd be looking at is basically a good thing, like freeing up of humans from the boring stuff that nobody wants to be doing. Like, who wants to be standing at a conveyor belt sorting out tomatoes? Like, I think, maybe people want to do it because, like, I don't know for what reason, but I don't think that's anybody's passion. I'm sure these people go back home and like they have something else that they're excited about or they'd rather be doing. Well, by creating an economy where that can be done efficiently and reliably by artificial intelligence, if again, it's a matter of having good human ethics and consciousness in the society. If all that efficiency and the excess or the surplus of wealth that comes from artificial intelligence implementation, if it's channeled into just a select few individuals or companies and not dispersed back into just the same people, then yeah, that's not good for anybody. But if it's actually channeled back into better roads, better education, better, like opportunities for people that are actually being displaced by AI to learn new things, then that's going to be that it's going to become more utopian. For example, I'll give you like a statistic. The World Health Organization, not World Health, World Economic Forum, WEF, in 2018, they published a report where they estimated that a certain number of, I think it's 70 million jobs will be displaced by AI in the next, I don't remember the exact timeline, like 5 or 10 years or so. But what they estimated as well is that for every one job that AI displaces, 1.7 new jobs will be created for humans through means of artificial intelligence. And all that it requires is like there are going to be more creative, more interesting jobs, and people will require training. Like, for instance, if you have a call center of 100 people and they're just doing routine question answer type of tasks all the time, then, well, now that artificial intelligence is going to be there, how is it going to be different? Well, artificial intelligence can easily, through natural language processing and other technologies, can handle like low-level tier 1 type of queries, making it more efficient for the people that call. Like, I don't really enjoy sitting in the queue waiting for a human to answer my very basic question about, why has my credit card been blocked or something like that. And then the humans, it doesn't mean that they're completely out of a job. They just need to requalify to new jobs. So, for instance, now they have more time to build meaningful relationships with the same people that are calling up, but about more complex issues, and actually exhibit these customer support representatives now can be customer support champions and exhibit some form of empathy to really understand and walk in the shoes of the same humans. I think at the end of the day, ultimately, it's a societal question rather than a technological question. How are we going to deal with the efficiencies and additional wealth that comes from the implementation of these technologies? And if as a society we exhibit enough consciousness and care about each other and channel them into the right direction, I think we can all benefit from this.
Yeah, that's so cool. So yeah, I was just I've been wanting to ask you a few questions about your professional career as an entrepreneur.
Sure.
When I just started following you on social media, the first thing that caught my eye was the hashtag that said unrecruitable. I know that you had previous work experience as a consultant and as an analyst in Deloitte, and you even did give some volunteer lecturing in University of Queensland. But I was wondering, when was that pivotal moment when you decided that, okay, from now on, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a leader. From now on, I'm unrecruitable.
It was April 2015, and I realized that I've had enough of what I was doing at the time. I stopped growing in my organization, and at the same time, my educational business was going better and better, and I decided to take the leap. And in June that year, I quit my job, and from then on, I've never looked back. And the hashtag actually comes from Ben Taylor. He had the hashtag on his LinkedIn profile, and my egotistic self thought that it was pretty cool. It's kind of a way to show off, so I decided to put it on. And the other thing is, it does help with recruiters. Kind of saves everybody time when people, think like just message you about job opportunities and you're not interested. It's just better that way, that you don't waste your time, they don't waste their time, and so on. Yeah. So entrepreneurial journey started a while ago. Like, I've had multiple businesses throughout my life. I think I started my first business when I was 18 years old or 20. I think I was 18 years old. Many failed. I've learned a lot throughout the way, but like, as that I'm not working in a like a full-time data science position anymore. That was so mid 2015. So it's been 4.5 years now.
Wow,
quite a while.
This is amazing. So yeah, and I've always been wondering, because you often mention that you're an introvert, but also at the same next thing we know, you're leading thousands and thousands of people. So I was wondering, how does an introvert thrive in a world full of maybe other introverts and also extroverts? Maybe there is some sort of a secret weapon or a ritual.
Mm. It's an interesting question. It's I guess if you think about it, there are a lot of introverts that are or have led masses of people. I'm like, I wouldn't say that Mahatma Gandhi was an extrovert, right? I'm not comparing myself to him in any way, but just like as an example, there's a person that's an introvert. I think maybe Elon Musk is an introvert. Some of possibly the presidents are introverts. That it doesn't like there are, for instance, the CEO of what is this company called? Um, I forgot. I forgot the company. There's lots of companies where the introverts are leaders, and I think it's just a matter of managing your energy, right? Like as an introvert, I spend more time thinking and internalizing things and thinking about strategy inside my own head and planning out I don't know, business ventures and new projects and things like that, all kind of internally, and then when the time's right, I externalize it. And I get energy from just like, for me, an introvert is somebody who gets energy from being alone or being in, like, having that time to self-reflect and internalize. An extrovert gains their energy from externalizing. I think both are capable of either internalizing or externalizing, and doing, like, leading people or coming up with strategies and so on. It's just that for one, it's easier to lead and be like externally focused. For the other, it's easier to be introspective. It's just a matter of like, okay, you just got to manage your energy levels. Like, for instance, I wouldn't be able to go and party for like 3 nights or 4 nights in a row. That would be too much for me because I would lose too much energy. So I got to take that into account, and I got to know, like, okay, if I have on Monday, I've got a podcast with Sasha, then I've got 5 other meetings. Then on Tuesday, I got to really tone it down and focus on recording a course or planning out some strategy or reading through some articles and things like that. And then on Wednesday, probably I could go have a lunch with somebody. And on Thursday, then I can meet some more people. So as long as you know that about yourself and you manage your energy levels to avoid any kind of burnout or just abuse of your own psychology, then I think you're fine.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Just being an introvert myself, I noticed there is a common misconception. Even within my own family, I had the same conversation with my little cousin the other day. She always thought of me as an extrovert. And I was like, no, that's not entirely true. I'm actually quite introverted on my Briggs scale. I'm the int J. I'm the introverted, I'm the architect type who is introverted.
You're, sorry, INTJ?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm also, or I used to be INTJ as well. That's a really interesting coincidence.
So yeah, and there is a common misconception about us that we don't enjoy interacting with people. It couldn't be further from truth, in my opinion. I do enjoy meeting new people and being social and interacting with them. But the thing is, I always need some alone time afterwards to recharge my batteries so that I can go out the next day and socialize and talk with more people. I completely agree with you. There has to be some sort of a balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true.
So
Very
yeah,
true.
and I've just been wondering, we're approaching my most favorite topic that I wanted to talk to you about. It's the Data Science Go Conference. As I mentioned before, it really changed my life, and I'm sure it changed many lives of a lot of people who are listening to us right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that the event grew almost, I don't want to say exponentially, but it's nearly an exponential growth. And the attendees, you guys started with about 100 something attendees, and then it blew up into something like 700 attendees or something like that?
620.
600, but I'm sure you guys will reach this number
Mm-hmm.
soon. So yeah, and I was wondering, in the industry that is so volatile because it so heavily depends on the human factor, were you apprehensive at all starting that venture?
Oh, that one, no. That one, no, wasn't apprehensive. That was fun. That was definitely a fun thing. Still is a lot of fun. And it was just very clear that that is something that's missing in the market, something that's going to be highly beneficial to people. So there's many data science conferences out there. How this one is different is that it's a community. So there's a lot of actual like getting to know people, and that's something like you mentioned you experience, like you get to meet a lot of great people, and everybody is open, is there to interact, to talk. There's a lot of both. Is great for beginners, and there's a lot of especially this coming year, we're making a massive effort in specifically inviting more advanced practitioners to give back to the beginners, to guide beginners, to help transitioning data scientists to understand their potential career pathways and so on. And of course, the content, there's, like, cause I have a podcast, like I host a podcast, and I invite a lot of speakers who I find interesting there to the conference. So it just all added up. It was really cool. I will say it is hard to run an event. You only get like one chance per year, and then you prepare for 363 days you prepare, then for 2 days you run it. And that's a tough part, that there's not enough the sample size, or like it's hard to get to run A/B tests in an event environment. It's not like just a website where like an e-commerce store or something. Like to run an A/B test, you have to wait a whole year. So it's hard to make it data driven. But apart from that, no, like not apprehensive at all. I was confident it was going to be success.
And it was a success.
Mm.
So yeah, we seem to be running short on time. So I just wanted to ask you one more question. It has to do with your last podcast episode where you talk about FOMO, also known as fear of missing out. I really loved your approach about how you fight the fear of missing out by allowing yourself to miss out on things and forgiving yourself for missing out. So how did you arrive to this level of Zen mastery?
Zen mastery, that's highly overstated. I would say I'm still nowhere near Zen mastery. Getting better. I think that's important, to compare yourself to yourself, not to anyone else or to some mythical level of where people say you should be. Just like as long as you're progressing and becoming better at being a human, that's always great. How did I arrive? How do I deal with fear of missing? I wouldn't say that I forgive myself for missing out. I think the way I phrased it was that I intentionally choose to miss out on things, and arriving at that was, just like through self-observation. I realized that when I'm unaware of things and I miss out of them, they don't bother me. Like, for instance, there might be a convention I could be attending right in the neighboring city, and it might be very useful for me, but then I've got some other thing that, like, some project I'm working on, which is also very useful. Well, guess what? If I'm not aware of that convention and it just happens, and then I would never actually find out about it ever in my life, then I'm never going to have regret of missing the convention, because I would have never known that it existed in the first place. On the other hand, if I know that this convention is running while I'm working on this project, I'm going to be torn between, oh, should I be working on this project or I should be going to this convention? I'm going to have this fear that I'm missing out on this convention or whatever it is that is happening in parallel. And so comparing the two side by side is effectively the same situation. Just in one case, you are aware of something. In the other case, you're not aware. So ultimately, your psychology is only affected not by the event happening or you missing out on it, but it's by your approach to how you think of the repercussions of missing out on it and things like that. So ultimately, you're gonna miss out on stuff no matter what. You can't do everything. Even if you had 100 hours in a day, you still can't do everything. You're gonna miss out on things anyway. So might as well just consciously make the choice that I'm missing out on A, B, and C because I want to do D or E or F or whatever else it is. And once you arrive at that, I wouldn't say that I'm a master at it in any by any stretch of the imagination, but I am definitely much more calm because of it. Like when I decide that, okay, I'm going to miss out on this particular thing because I'm choosing to do that. It makes me, that resolution, that resolute state really helps calm down and helps just focus on the thing that I do select to do.
Wow. So basically, you battle the anxiety associated with fear of missing out by choosing on what you're going to miss out on ahead of time. So you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Exactly.
So you basically focus on things that are important to you, that matter, but ahead of time. That's a fantastic approach, actually. That's something that I could use myself.
Thanks. Yeah, that's they don't even have to be things that matter to you. You can focus on something useless over something that matters to you. It's just a choice, right? Like I can focus to sit on the grass, or I can focus to, I don't know, watch a movie or something, as opposed to learning more about data science, even though the latter would have been more useful to my life and helpful. I'm making the choice. It's just being comfortable with the choice you're making and sticking to it, and then saying, okay, everything else I'm just going to miss out on.
Of course, absolutely. And hey, sometimes downtime would be more productive for the things that you're trying to accomplish, because sometimes our bodies and our brains, they just need that rest to recharge and be more productive in that next burst that we have planned.
I agree. Totally agree.
All right, so we almost ran out of time, but thank you so much today. Thank you so much, Kirill, for taking the time today to come to the show. And it was such a wonderful, such an interesting, and such an inspiring discussion. Thank you for that.
Thank you for inviting me. Have best of luck with the rest of the show. I know you're just starting out. Just perseverance. You'll make it happen. Very excited for you.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening, Kirill.
You too. Bye.
Bye.